today we're going to be doing derivatives. Ne? We're going to be doing derivatives. So how can you find a derivative of a certain function? There are certain rules in order to be able to derive something. You must have certain rules. Ne? For example, first rule, we have a power rule. D over dx, a power rule. Any function raised to any number. How to derive that? The only way to derive that, you have to take this exponent here. You have to take this exponent, then multiply by that function, then subtract 1 on that exponent. Ne? It means you're going to have n x n minus 1. Ne? We call that thing a what? A power rule. That's a power rule. It's a power rule. It's the first rule. Ne? So a quick example is this one. They say find the derivative of x squared. If you are deriving something, you must represent by what? By d over dx. It means you are telling them you are deriving this function with respect to x. Understand? You are deriving that function with respect to x. Therefore, your answer is going to be what? You drop the n, which is 2, then you subtract the 1 on top of the n, and then your answer is what? 2x to the 1. Ne? Another example is when you have x cubed. You are going to use a power rule. Ne? You are going to say d over dx is equals to, you drop the n, then subtract 1 on the n, then your answer is going to be 3x squared. Ne? Another quick example is when we have a what? A 1 over x, d over dx. You cannot what? You cannot derive something already is in the denominator. You must make sure your function goes in the numerator. Ne? So if you are still simplifying your function, you have not yet started to derive that function, please, you must not remove this thing. You remove this thing only if you are starting to derive. Understand? Meaning here, I'm going to have equal sign. I'm going to have d over dx. Then I simplify my function. My function is going to be what? We have 1 here. And then we're going to what? Reciprocal. Meaning I'm going to have what? X minus 1. I have not yet started to what? To derive. Hence, I did not what? Hence, I did not remove this d over dx. Understand? So now I'm starting to derive. Whenever I'm starting to derive, I'm removing this thing to show that I have derived something. Ne? So how to derive this function? For me to derive this function, I told you, you drop the n here. This is the n. You drop the negative 1, then you subtract 1 from the n. Then your answer is going to be negative 1 x minus 2, which is the same as what? Negative x minus 2. Understand? This is how you derive this function. You can still simplify this function since it already has a negative exponent and put it into the denominator if you want. Meaning I'm going to have what? Negative into x minus 2 is the same as what? Negative into 1 over this one is becomes positive x squared. Understand? Meaning your answer is going to be negative 1 over x squared. Ne? It's the derivative of what? It's the derivative of 1 over x. Ne? So how can you derive this? Using a power rule. D over dx of square root of x. Understand? The only way to derive this thing, you must simplify. You must have an exponent here. You must have an exponent here. Meaning you are going to manipulate this, simplify it. Before you start, before you can start deriving, you must not remove this thing. Ne? And then we're deriving with respect to x. Meaning you are going to say equal sign d over dx. And you say what? X 1 over 2. That's how the square root can be rewritten. Ne? How did I find this 1 over 2? We have a 1 here. We have a 1 here, always all the time. And we have the 2 here, always all the time. And you know the law of what? The law of SATs. You know, if I have square root of any function n raised to any number multiplied by what? Raised to the another number out of the square root. This thing is the same as what? x, you take the number in the on that is the exponent of the exponent of x, ne? You take that number, then you divide by whatever is in here. You must know whenever you have a square root, always all the time there is a 2 here. If you press a calculator and you say 2 square root of 4, you will get what? You will get 2. If you press square root of 4, you will still get what? Get 2, because this 2 here does not affect anything. It's always here, but it's not visible. Understand? And then how can you derive that thing? The only way to derive this thing, you do what? If you are starting to derive, you are removing this thing, ne? Meaning you are going to have what? 1 over 2x 1 over 2 minus 1. Therefore, you are going to have 1 over 2. Then you have what? X minus 1 over 2. Since, well, this thing is a negative exponent, it means it goes in the denominator. I'm going to have square root of 1 over 2 x 1 over 2 is now positive, and this thing we know is a square root, ne? We are reversing. We are moving from where? We are moving from here to here. Now it means I'm going to take that denominator exponent and put it outside. What's my denominator? My denominator is 2. I'm going to say 1 over 2. I put my denominator outside. Then for I keep what? I keep the n. The n which is in the what? Numerator. My n for now is what? Is 1. Then therefore I have x to the 1. Understand? Simple as that. So how can you derive square root of 1 over square root of x? If you want to derive, you say d over dx, ne? Therefore, you are going to have what? You are simplifying. You must not remove this thing. You have not yet started to derive. Meaning, I'm going to have d over dx of what? I'm having 1 over x minus 1 over 2. I have not yet started to derive. I want to make this function to be in the numerator. I'm going to say equal sign d over dx. I'm going to have what? X minus 1 over 2. Understand? So I'm starting to derive now. Meaning I'm going to have what? I'm going to have negative 1 over 2 multiplied by x minus 1 over 2 minus 1. Understand? Therefore, it's the same as negative what? Negative, and then minus half minus 1 is like this. Is like half plus 1, which is 1.5. 1.5 is the same as what? 3 over 2. It means I'm having negative 3 over 2 divided by 2. Therefore, this exponent is negative. I'm doing what? I'm putting it back in the what? In the denominator. I'm going to remain with negative 1 divided by 2 multiplied by x 3 over 2. Therefore, my answer is going to be negative 1 divided by, I take the n, put it outside, meaning I'm going to have 2 square root of what? X cubed. Understand? Simple as that. This is how we use what? The so-called power rule.